Last name is
Traver?
Traver?
Yes. Traver.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll introduce you and then just ask you some simple questions, and then basically you tell your story from when you went into service until you came out.
I don't know if I could do that.
Well, it'll come back to you. You'll be surprised. Oh, we are, okay. This is an interview with Arthur Traver at the New York State Museum, Military Museum, Saratoga Springs, New York. It is the 13th of March, 2003, 11:15 a.m. The interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Arthur L. Traver, I was born July 2nd, 1918,
And where were you born?
in Saratoga
You
Springs.
were born in Saratoga. What was your educational background before you went into service?
High school graduate.
Mhm.
That's the top.
Okay. Where were you, and what do you remember about Pearl Harbor, when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, I heard about it, yes, but I was just an innocent little farmman then.
Do you remember how you heard about it?
Not exactly. We were out motorcycle riding, and the fellow I was with, he said, I guess he heard it on the radio or something, told me about it.
Do you remember what your reaction was, how you felt?
No, I was just amazed. War didn't mean anything to me in those days.
What kind of motorcycle did you have back then?
Harley Davidson.
Oh boy. Do you remember what year it was? Was it an
No,
old
not
flatbed?
exactly. It was an old one.
Uh-huh.
When we went in and had this, just before I was inducted, I went out to California, out to Pikes Peak on it.
Really?
When
Wow.
I got back, they had told me I had to come into service or be,
Uh-huh.
previous to before I went down and was inspected there for the Navy. I could have gone in. I didn't know it, but I could have still gone in when I come home. When I saw ours had the induction there, I thought that's where I had to go. So that's what
So you were drafted?
yes.
Uh-huh. And how did you pick the Airborne, or
No.
how did you end up in the
It
Airborne?
was just this other fellow and I, Ernie Arnold and I, from Saratoga unit, that went on. The rest of them all come back and took their 2 weeks vacation. And he and I were sent right on down and right into the 82nd Airborne,
Okay, where did you go for your training?
Fort Bragg.
What kind of training did you receive?
A lot of walking. I was put in the artillery, but we walked, and we walked. And so finally I got awful tired of walking, and I volunteered to be a driver. And they give me my license. Deadline my Jeep, put me right back to walking. All the rest of the time I was here. I never saw a Jeep again until we got into Africa. Then they called for drivers, and I drove from the, no, I didn't drive from the, I drove, I was in the artillery, I was back driving, and it was just back and forth wherever they wanted me, that's all.
Were you in the 82nd Airborne when there's a story of a run-in between the Airborne and Patton's troops? Because his men wore their pants tucked in. Do you ever remember that?
We were proud of those boots. We were the first and only ones I knew of that had them.
I had heard a story that some of Patton's men wore their boots like that. And they had a clash with the Airborne guys.
A lot of them, if they could get them, everybody wanted them. But I didn't know that anybody else was issued them.
Yeah, okay.
You mean they bloused their boots?
Yeah, they
Like
bloused.
the Airborne?
Yeah.
It was
I hadn't heard that. I was just curious.
Oh, it was when we were in England, I think, before we finally got those paratroop boats. We had just the lace-up ones when we first went in here.
Yeah. Did you do any jumps? How many jumps did you do?
I was not a jumper. I was glider men.
You were in gliders.
After Normandy, all the glider troopers went in and wanted to become paratroopers. They said, no, it's too late now, you're experienced glider troopers, and I couldn't go back. The paratroopers actually, I think, had less casualties than the glider troopers did.
What glider unit were you in?
What?
What glider unit were you in? Was it?
The 2nd Airborne.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you had
Do you remember the type of glider? Was it the Horsa glider or? one
Oh,
of
it was
the
in the
others?
320th Fuel Doctor, is that what you want?
Oh, yes. What kind of gliders did you train in?
In our American glider.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't train in them. I never got a chance to go up in them
You never did.
until we was over in Africa. And the reason for that was that when they went down for that training, I'd got my furlough to go home. I got back down there, my name being T. I never got up in one here. I didn't get up until just before we left Africa, I guess.
Now, how did you get across to Africa? What kind of ship did you take over?
Troop ship, that's all I could tell
Were
you.
you in a convoy?
Huh?
Were you in a convoy on your way over?
I don't even remember that.
You don't, okay. What did you do in Africa? Were you in any campaigns there, or was the African campaign over?
The African campaign was over. We were in intensive training all the time that we were there. We had more casualties than some of those did in combat.
Where exactly were you in Africa? Do you remember?
All the way across. We went into Casablanca,
Okay.
went from there across to Uja and Kairouan. I think it was Kairouan that we were saying. It was 3 different places in there in North Africa that we were at.
Now, were you in on the invasion of Sicily and so on?
I went into Sicily. I think they were, I don't know whether they were already conquered or give up then or not, but when I was there, I flew into Sicily from Africa in an airplane. I was a Jeep driver. And they told me to get in on the airplane. He says, we're taking off. I said, you can't take off. I had tied the Jeep down. Had supposed to have 6, I think it was, tied down there. He says, set the emergency brake. He says, we're taking off. I said, I don't have any emergency brake. God damn it, he says, get in the seat and hold your foot on the brake. We're taking off.
What kind of plane was that?
C-47.
Was it?
An old one. I was up there working, looked right into the pilot's compartment. And that goddamn, we had a 1,000-pound overload. I thought we were never going to get off the ground, but we finally did. And when we got over to Sicily, I looked out there and we were going right around the inside of, I think it was a volcano, that was the airport anyway. And I saw us coming to that airport. We hit. We went down to the other end. He died. This was a good pilot now. He locked one brake, gunned the other engine, and we went right back up the runway. It took us the whole runway before we could stop it, because as I said, he had a 1,000-pound overload. That was one pilot. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't seen quite a few good pilots.
So what did you do on Sicily?
Just trained. And then I had to drive all the way across Sicily, leading our convoy over to the other side at night. They came running up to me, the drivers, when we had a break. Where the hell are you going? I says, my driver keeps me at 30 miles an hour, exact. I says, if I go 32, he's got me. I says, it's my fault if you can't keep an even space. Oh, we got over there without any trouble anyway. Then we took LSTs from there over to the southern part of Italy.
What did you do in Italy?
Well, we was in garrison there for quite a while. Then we went up just north of Sicily, And that's where I saw my first combat.
Mhm.
It was up in the mountains there. I can't remember now how long we were there. About 3 weeks, I think. That was my first combat. Then we came back from there.
Could you tell us a little bit about your first combat? Your
The less I
experiences?
tell about it, the better it off was. I just scared most of the time. But I can tell you one little bit of thing there. I was jeep driver and it was muddy. And they had the engineers there going in, filling in the ruts. You didn't even have to steer. It was only a jeep track up in there. And this is a little bit of bragging. They had two jeeps on all the guns, and I was on a jeep with a trailer. Well, the one jeep burned out a clutch, and the other one did something. Then why they couldn't run. So the officer had me unhook the trailer and hook onto that gun, and I took it right on with just one jeep all the way to the next position. I could hear him going ahead of me. It was night, and I just stepped on that gas. I'd been driving Jeep long enough there, and so I knew what it was all about.
Now, did you drive for like the company commander? Or?
Only once in Africa. He and I didn't get along too good. He was from Florida. He used to have a bunch of Negroes, they said, working for him. And I said that he never could treat the Negroes in the United States like he did us. Anyway, he didn't like the Northerners. But anyway, this one time he had me on dispatch. And Jesus, Traver, he says, miss some of them goddamn bums. Just told me to go out in the desert there, you know. Well, I started going. All of a sudden, we had a roadrunner jumped up. And he says, follow that. He said, I want to get a shot at him. Well, I shot it, and bing, bang, and that. All of a sudden, he hit right across. I just swerved as there was a big gully right through. Went back to camp, he says. And he never had him drive. Never had to drive for him again.
Okay, where did you go after you were in combat in Italy? What kind of weapon did you carry?
We had a 105 howitzers.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a personal weapon with you?
Oh, yes.
What did you carry?
The old Springfield.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where did you go after Italy?
We went up to Ireland. It was 40-some days on the boat going from Italy to Ireland. We come back pretty near the United States, they said. They had so many on that troop ship that was only eating twice a day. So when we got out, rocket ship or off there, you went down and eat anytime you want. When we got out in the ocean, oh, it was rough. It was rough. It took us, I think it was 21 days to go from there up to Ireland. They claim we came pretty near back to the United States, ducking U-boats, I don't know.
What kind of training did you have up in Ireland? How long were you there?
Well, I think we got there, we had to go back to Africa from Sicily, from Italy. And that was Thanksgiving there. And then we got up there a little bit before Christmas time. And it was awful short days up there. We didn't do much of any training. We were training, but I don't remember much what it was.
How'd you get along with the civilian population?
Fine. No troubles whatsoever.
Did you do any glider training at all while you were in, before you went into Normandy?
No. No, it was just artillery change. Yeah, then they took us down Cornwall, or is it, or somewhere down there to the south for the land place to take off to go to France.
What type of glider did you go into France on?
I went in on the English glider,
Oh.
plywood. bigger than our C-47 that towed it.
How much equipment and what did you have inside the glider?
We had a Jeep in there and a whole bunch of 105 ammunition, and I think it was 12 men.
Was it an American at the controls, or was it an Englishman?
I don't know which it was, but he had never flown a live load before. And before we got hardly off the ground, he had myself and somebody else get off and bounce up his load so he could fly. And that's where we stayed. I was sitting on top of the 105 ammunition. This is just psychological now. It didn't make a bit of difference if they'd hit that one. They were shooting at us, we'd all been gone. But anyway, when I saw the lights going on, that they were going to unhook from us if we didn't unhook, I jumped back in and I got into my, got buckled in. And when we had crashed, I still had the harness on me, wasn't fastened to nothing. That plywood just disintegrated.
Did you crash in an open field? Did you land in a field? Or?
We went right down and took one of them great big trees that they had there in the hedgerow. That tore the wind right off.
Was anyone injured?
That was supposed to have the tail, that was a tricycle landing gear, and it was supposed to have the fuselage, the tail end, swing around, put two runways down, and drive the Jeep out. The Jeep, all they had to do was chop the edge of the wing off from the back of the Jeep, and I drove her out, it was right down on the ground.
Was anybody injured in the crash? Do you
Pardon?
remember? Was anybody injured in the crash?
The pilot and co-pilot were both broken legs and everything. They were in terrible shape. But they lived, because I went out with the medics when they took them out the next day, I guess it was, and we put them onto a tank and they took them somewhere. That was the last I ever saw. But they were so badly hurt, they wouldn't let us give them the morphine at the time, you know. This is just a little item. So they told this other fellow to give them the morphine, you know, when they asked for it. All right, he says, I can't get this goddamn thing in there. I looked, I said, you damn fool. I said, you got to take the thing out of the needle before you can put the needle in. He was that shook up. But I never did hear how they came out. But they were the only ones that were bad. Everybody was knocked out in the glider when we crashed. When I looked over, I locked arms with this buddy of mine here. Looked over at him and the blood was all running down under his helmet. But he was all right.
Now, what happened after you landed? You got your Jeep out, and what did you do?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't get the Jeep
I
out.
stayed there for quite a while because we had to walk out and get the medics to come in to take the. Once we walked to the first sergeant and I walked out, and we met up with the tankers, and they sent in the first aid people back in to get our pilot and co-pilot. And they told us, let's see if I can remember to say this, we were in with your outfit
101st?
when we got straightened around. Oh, the 82nd's all gone, they said. Well, it was the next day, I guess, somebody could come in, and they took us. The 82nd wasn't all gone. We had one gun out of 5 still left. And I run that gun the rest of the night. There was, I don't know how many of us, there was only about 5 of us. We was running that gun, just, the others were doing it. Then they fell down and go to sleep, and I would run it, and then I woke the next one up, and that was the first combat that I saw there. Then within another day or so, we had some more howitzers sent in, and I think it was 5 or 7 we had, I don't remember which, in each battery.
What was it like in the landing zone area? Was it, were the Germans firing at you? Was there a lot of...
We was right behind the infantry.
Mhm.
In fact, our howitzers were the sawed-off ones that they're 100, yeah, they were. 105s, I guess they were. But anyway, they were the sawed-off version that the infantry had used for direct lay.
Mhm.
They only had, I think it was 5 charges, and we were shooting charge 1 a lot of the time. That's just over our infantry head.
How long were you in combat in the Normandy area?
I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, I don't remember which, and then they sent us back to Italy, England.
Mhm.
We went back on LSDs, I guess. I know we were there long enough so that on the way back I had a direct order from my captain, get my wool cut off.
When you went back to England, what did you do there?
We practiced some more.
Did you ever do any glider landings while you were in England for training?
No,
Now you were.
I don't remember that we had any.
Mhm. Now you were in Operation Market Garden into
I-
Holland. Holland, you went into Holland in the assault.
I went into Holland, but not airborne.
Oh, okay. Did you go in gliders, or how did you
Yeah.
go in?
The rest of the outfit went in gliders.
Did you go in gliders?
No, they had me in a weapons car that time in one of those 6-wheel weapons cars. We went over to, well, the other, whatchamacall, there in England and got them. Ireland, I should say. It don't make a difference. Anyway, they were too big to go. We had to go back to Normandy landing. And then they told, well, the others gone in airborne.
Mhm.
It was, I think it was midnight that they had us in bivouac. Finally they said, we got the road, the Germans got both sides of the road, don't stop for nothing. And we went from there right into Holland. Never saw a shot fired or nothing. No more than we got in there, she locked the roads right by, we were isolated there for a month. In that one spot. Naturally, the minute I got there, they put me right back in the gun section. They never could tell where they wanted me. When I was going into Normandy, they did that deadline my Jeep. And they said, you're going in the gun section. I said, I can't go in the gun section. I said, I never trained on those. I was training on the 75 millimeter, and they'd since gone over to 105. You learn, that's all the satisfaction they give me, and I did.
Now, were you involved in the Battle of the Bulge?
Yeah.
Did you have winter dress, winter uniform at all? Were you issued a winter uniform?
No, got through the whole war. All I was is in the hospital down in Africa for stomach gone.
Did you have a field jacket?
Huh?
Did they give you a field jacket at least? You know, a jacket like that, a field jacket, a heavy jacket?
When you were in the winter for the Battle of the Bulge, did you have a field jacket or an overcoat?
I guess we had an overcoat, but I didn't have a chance to use it very much, I think. But
Were you with your artillery battery then in the Battle of the Bulge?
they put me back driving the Battle of Bulge.
Uh-huh.
And when we got into, when it started thawing, and it was laying in the mud, I asked for a transfer to one of the bigger units, and they gave it to me. They gave me an old American Ford that Germans had, and I drove that. I was going to say I drove that right until we came out of the service. But anyway, I drove big truck from that time on.
What did you do as a truck driver? Did you bring ammunition or supplies or?
In where now?
Well, when you were driving the truck, what did you do?
Sometimes I'd pull the gun, sometimes I'd pull the ammunition in a trailer, whatever they need.
And did you go into the Rhineland and into Germany at all?
Did I go where?
Into Germany.
Yes, I went into Germany, went right through the Siegfried line. Went back, then went through it the second time. That's where we ran into a whole bunch of mines. They blew up the truck right ahead of me, blew the rear wheels out of it. All my buddies were in the back of that. Fortunately, I had a extinguisher in my Jeep, and I put it out enough so they got a chance to get out. When we got up to the next day there, the officer come up to me and says, "Traver, don't you see that mine over there?" It was all marked off, you know. I said, "Yes, sir. I saw it all last night, too." He never turned right around and walked right away. I had never seen him or any of the officers that one particular night.
Did you ever get a chance to drive any of the Army motorcycles?
No.
No?
I tried my best to get in motorcycles, but they wouldn't let. When we were in Germany, before we went across the Rhine River, we were bivouacked there anyway, and they had a whole bunch of motorcycles that they'd taken in there, you know. I got a chance to ride there, and that's the only time I ever rode, all the hours in service. After I see what was what, I was glad I never was assigned to a motorcycle.
Why was that?
They were messengers and whatnot, and I don't know how they ever drove through the conditions they did. Bad enough to be driving a Jeep. I sat there one place, I don't remember where it was now, but they had these pontoon bridges, I guess it was. Anyway, the tanks were going this way, and I was sitting this way, and I had my foot on the brake, and I was sure I was going. The vibration was so bad from those tanks. And I'm telling you, they didn't miss us by 6 inches. I don't know how that happened. They had some good men in that army. There's no way about it.
What do you think was your most memorable experience while you were in service?
Crash in Normandy, I guess. That and the rest of the time that we was in Normandy was, of course, that was the worst of the combat that I saw, really. Well, it wasn't. No, it wasn't any worse than the Battle of the Bulge either.
Did you get a chance to see any USO shows while you were over there?
Not a one.
No?
Not a one. In fact, we didn't even get the Red Cross to do it for us only once, I think. We were just on beyond where they'd let them go. Wasn't their fault.
Did you get any leave time while you were over there?
Pardon?
Did you get any leave time?
Leave?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had 2 good leaves. After the Battle of Bulge, I guess it was. Jeez, I don't remember. Anyway, one of them, I got a chance to go to Riviera.
Oh.
And I had quite an experience there. This old fellow come up to us, and he says, "I'd like to have you come up to my place." There was 4 or 5 of us soldiers there. 3 of us, I guess, that went with him. Anyway, he took us to his home. What was that place? Was off limits in there on the side of the hill in Italy. Don't make any difference. Anyway, it was off limits. It was neutral. And he got us on the train, and he took us in, And it was just like in the movies, you know, we went through this back and forth across this thing and up the side of the cliff, really, that's where the houses were, to his home. And he treated us royal there, and we stayed overnight. I stayed overnight. One of these other fellows, he had to go back. He begged him not to go back. Well, he says, I'll try and get you out, but he didn't want to. He got caught. Or I don't know who he was even now. Anyway, next day, he took us to go back. He had us stay in this one place. I forget how it was now. And then all of a sudden, he says, run. The train was ready to go. And those people, they knew what it was. We started running. They just opened up for the MPs, knew something was going on, and they were trying to get through the woods. We got on that train and it took right off. But he used to come over to New York on boats in peacetime. And he just wanted to do something for the soldiers over there, and that's what he did. And that was one of the nicest, and the only time I was ever into a private home from the time I left home until I got back. The other time I got a pass to, Switzerland. And it was supposed to have been only 2-day pass, I guess it was, or 3-day pass, that's what it was. I don't know what went wrong, but nobody came after. We were there for a week.
How did you feel when you heard about the death of President Roosevelt?
I don't remember. I don't remember if we even heard it. Well, we must have heard it, but...
When did you return back home?
When?
When, yes.
In September. Let me see. We were in France. We come out of France and we come right back to Boston, I think. And then from there we had to go back down. Yeah, I'm sure. We were out of New York Harbor, going over. And when we come back to Boston. And then we had to train it down to be put out, released.
Did you join any veterans organizations? Have you ever joined any veterans organizations?
Joined them all. Never went to any of them.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone you served with in the Airborne?
Well, this Ernie Arnold that I said was from here, Saratoga, of course. He and I were back and forth all the while until he died. He had a heart attack. About 10 years ago, I guess. The others, I have one buddy out in where did I tell you the second group came in from? Out in by the Great Lakes. And there's one man there still living that was in our, I got a card from her Christmas time, and his wife said that he was in terrible shape. And he was claiming that our crash in Normandy did something to his back anyway, disintegrated. And he can do nothing. I don't know how much longer she didn't talk like she was expecting him to live much longer.
How do you think your military service, did it ever change or affect your life in any way?
Well, yeah, I guess it affected my life all right. I got partly broken back and a lot of arthritis and that. No, I can't see it affected too much.
Okay, you said you brought a book with you. What is that book that you brought with you?
Well, I just show pictures of all the... Just take a look at it. There was a lot of pictures of the
Well, it's just the
gliders in there.
yeah, the history of the 82nd Airborne.
Okay.
And you said there were no photographs of you yourself in
Not
here?
personal, no,
Uh-huh. Do you have any pictures of yourself in your uniform, or
no.
don't have any pictures?
Did you use the GI Bill at all?
No.
No.
Here are some of the gliders at Normandy. Did you ever use the 52-20 club they had after the war? You never used any of those? Okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
You're welcome.